welcome everyone. This month is my pick. The book that we're going to be reviewing is This Is How You Lose the Time War. This book was written by actually two authors. One author being Amal El Motar and the other one by Max Goldstone. This was kind of like a novella. It's like a little under 200 pages. So it's kind of like if you want a short read and something that's very consumable, I think this may be for you. And what this covers is two assassins, one called Red and one called Blue. And there are two, I guess you can say countries or factions are in this war. We kind of got given a background like how the war started or what's going on. But basically, Red, her society is very cyber technology focused. And then we have Blues, whose society is very like nature, natural focus. And then since they're like kind of like the top assassins, they eventually find each other and they kind of admire each other's work and they start leaving each other's letters. And that's basically like the whole structure of the whole story is like this exchange between these two assassins through letters. And through these letters, we get a glimpse of not only their thoughts of each other or themselves, but also like their societies and how they function. And I'll leave that there for now, but I just want to get Mike's opinion on the book. What was your thoughts initially when you started reading the book?
So I thought the first like 20, 25 pages were really strong. Mm-hmm. The characters were cold, they were calculated, and it was very spy versus spy.
Like tit for tat kind of stuff?
Yeah, just being steps ahead at one point and then steps behind at the other point in this little cat and mouse game. And then the letters got a little sentimental and emotional really fast. And that was when things changed a little bit, and then it kind of picked up at the end for me. I really liked it overall. Felt experimental because it's basically the story is told through the characters, Red and Blue, going through their missions while simultaneously falling in love with each other. And it just goes back and forth with these. It'll be like some action where it'll be them completing one of their missions in an era of time, basically, where they go back to try to affect a certain change that benefits their society, their group. And then it'll be a letter that was sent from one character to the other, Red to Blue or Blue to Red. And it just goes back and forth between Red action, and then Red reading Blue's letter, and then Blue action, and then Blue reading Red's letter. And then it'll just kind of cycle and go back and forth that way through the end. I think it was good because it definitely made it a little easier to keep track of things because description is very sparse. You're getting a lot of information very fast, but in very mysterious terms.
Yeah. There's not really any world building here. You get like some information through each society when they mention the letters, like as they're getting midway through the book, they're fearful because as they're building feelings for each other, they're fearful that their society is going to catch on that they actually like each other, and they would be kind of not killed. I mean, I wouldn't say killed, but kind of like retrained or restructured, so like they would not be able to meet each other ever again, or each other's society would sick other assassins onto each other and essentially eliminate them. And then one thing that I did have to look at a video because I was like curious like what other people thought is that apparently Amal El Motar wrote Blue, and that's why her name is in blue, and then Max Goldstone wrote Red's perspective.
I feel like they're making it seem like it's this innovative process when really it's just two people co-writing a book. It isn't that significant to me. I thought the structure and kind of dreamlike way that we move through the story made me think of Ancillary Justice or Hyperion, those two sci-fi novels, because it's like a very dreamlike fantasy feeling through it. Like you're kind of floating through this story and through time because you're in different eras of time for this cat and mouse game. You're not given that much detail, but you are given a decent amount of understanding and insight into each faction, where you are introduced to their philosophies really well, and you're kind of introduced to the differences. But again, some of the letters became very like saccharine, like very syrupy, sweet, and emotional really fast. And I'm a little more critical of sci-fi now, where I kind of expect a little more like thought into what the future might be like, rather than a highly stylized, metaphorical, symbolic depiction of a faction. So less of like it's a future where It's the people that believe in the hive mind and treating nature with respect versus against the faction who is all about technology and
Who's gonna
things like
win?
that. But then what happens is these characters just kind of act like we act now. And I think it works in the sense of this book because the characters are jumping through time and it's clear that they have formative memories from having missions or seeing things from 14th century Italy and take back to their present something that they like a tea ceremony that they found in China when they were there on a mission in 8th century or in the 8th century or whatever. And so that kind of makes sense that they might be acting the way that they thought it was interesting that people acted culturally at a certain time in a certain place. But overall, it still kind of annoys me, especially when they were so soldiery in the beginning, where it's you have your mission, you do X or Y, you're cold-blooded, you respect this person, but you keep a distance. And then it just goes from that to, oh my God, it was so cute how you did this, how you tricked me into doing this and that. And the level of casualness that they speak with each other is a little fast.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you that this book was, you can see how initially, in my opinion, initially started off as an exercise between friend writers. And that was interesting. And I, like, my personal opinion is, was there a lull in the middle of the book? Yes, between the conversation between Blue and Red. But I feel like in some of the letters, Red would take on kind of Blue's personality because Blue would question, like, hey, do you feel? How do you connect? Like, how does your society run? And like, Red, I believe, was becoming sentimental, while Blue, who was sentimental because she was close to nature, close to her emotions, was influencing her. And I think vice versa. I think Red influenced Blue by being more, and she even admits, like, by working close to you or working with you, I was able to become, I guess, a better killer, but a better soldier because she would appreciate how tactical, because her society, being cyber and technology, was very tactical and in their way of thinking and doing their missions. So I feel like slowly as you read the book, you can see that their letters, which was both, you can clearly tell what was Blue, who was Red. And then towards the end of the book, you kind of see that they kind of took on each other, were influenced by each other's writing style. And like, it kind of showed like how they grew in their relationship, is my personal opinion. But I don't know. I mean, I agree. Like, I wish there was more world building. Was able to get like it intrigued me when you get snippets of each other's society. Like, I wanted like another chapter or a couple pages to describe. But maybe this book was supposed to be more focused, not so much on the society, but like hyper focus on these soldiers and their individual schools of thought and how they respect each other, eventually loved each other, and how they were questioning each other's society. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Like, I like you. Why were we always told each other like to steer clear away, or why this war is happening? So I feel like that was like the primary focus, maybe, in this exercise. But I don't know. I think it was interesting overall.
Yeah, good point. There was definitely a sense that they embodied their sides' characteristics. And I did like at the end when they have to take risks to continue their romance. There's a point where I think they do a pretty good job of getting from we're just talking about it to let's take action to is this something that's possible and are we going to be able to make it out on the other side when it's over? And then it gets to the point where they kind of decide we don't care.
Yeah.
And they just go for it. But inside all of that, they also still don't trust each other 100% because they can't. They still have thoughts of, I need to rely on this person to not be an agent still in the end. Because there's always a sense of that rivalry and of that faction, and there's that pressure on them to succeed in their mission. So in the back of their mind, they're always thinking, is this one long con? Which is kind of interesting that they're aware of it for so long, and it's actually written into their dialogue and their story where they're actually thinking about it throughout the entire book, every single second. And I thought that was kind of cool too.
Yeah. Because
even till the last second, it becomes less about the consequences from their factions and more about having the trust in themselves. in the love that they have for each other.
Because in the book, eventually, Blue and Red get found out by their agencies. So they get kind of siloed in their countries. And Red basically was forced to write a letter, which would ultimately be the Blue's demise. It was like a letter with poison, essentially, but Red was able to write like a hidden meaning within the letter to say like, hey, don't be dumb, don't drink this, don't buy into it. But Blue eventually like caught on, like it was like a catch-22. If I do it, I'll die, and if I don't do it, I die, essentially. So like she ends up taking the poison, and then Red comes and tries to like save her. Like she breaks all rules, jumps back in time just to try to save Blue, and which doesn't happen. But what was interesting too is that through the book, Red mentions that she felt like there was a stalker. Like she always felt like she was being watched. And when she went to, I guess this was like what, a medieval era of some country, I can't remember now. When she went there, she was able to get the essence of Blue. Like she was able to consume it. And basically her thought was, well, I have to try to escape and go to Blue's country. And she basically breaks the barrier, as it were, and falls into Blue's territory. And she brings the essence of Blue back. Like she goes back in time to a young Blue. Because like in the book, and this is my interpretation, in the book, Blue always mentioned that she was broken. And the gardener was always watching her when she was a young age because they felt like she was different. She never knew why. And I personally believe, and my theory, is that Red went back in time to a young Blue to bring Blue back to herself. And I think that's like kind of Red was basically giving rebirth to Blue, essentially, so she wouldn't fully die.
Yeah, I remember now, because she had a chance to kill young Blue, and she chose not to.
I don't think she ever chose. I think in the end, Red finally realized that she wanted to love her, and she didn't want the essence of Blue to go away. So she went to, I want to say a young Blue, but a Blue that wasn't contaminated is the best way I can describe it right now. And she wanted to bring the spirit of the Blue that she knew in the future back. And because like in the beginning of the book, Blue mentions that there was a time when she got really, really sick when she was younger. And that basically that's Red going back in time, infiltrating, making her quote unquote sick, and giving her back which is essentially like her recovering from whatever Red did in the past. But they also talk about this shadow, and my other interpretation is that the shadow that Red kept feeling like she was being watched was probably the future Red watching the past Red, making sure that the actions that the past Red took aligned with Blue. No?
No, I get that. I can see that.
So that was my interpretation. So how many Kisas do you give it?
I'm going to give it 4 Kisas. Overall, I thought it was really cool and really fun. And like I said, I thought that it was interesting. And I like that kind of like ethereal, dreamlike, sleepwalking storytelling style. Even though there were some things that didn't work for me, I thought overall it was pretty cool. It was short, and you get a lot of info, and the letters was interesting along with the cat and mouse aspect. And yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a banger.
We have it on video that Mike thinks it's a banger. So I gave it 3.5 stars because overall I liked the book. I thought it was interesting. I like seeing like how two writers would essentially interact with each other and how would they influence each other's writing. I think it could have been a shorter novella kind of scenario, but overall it was enjoyable, and I was able to get through it very quickly, and it was fun to see two writers experiment with each other's work. And it was probably very helpful for them that they were friends to begin with, but I think it was like a fun experiment to read and experience. Any further thoughts?
Yeah, I think that if you're like me and if you liked Hyperion, or if you liked Ancillary Justice, or if you like the spy versus spy chess match between assassins kind of story with a twist, I think if you like romance and sci-fi in general, I think the factions are interesting enough in how their philosophies differ and how they interact with their environments and the upper command that they're dealing with, the main characters. I think you'll like it. If you like short sci-fi, get through it quick, but it'll make you think. I think the writing falls off a little bit after the first like fifth of the book, 20%. But the beginning and the end were great, and I could see it in my mind. I think it could be a cool movie.
I think a company did option the rights to it, but I think nothing came from it. So maybe we shall see an anime or a movie or a short like limited series someday on this.
I think it's definitely more for the romantic sci-fi fan more than the sci-fi, more than like the sci-fi or like harder sci-fi fans. But
I mean, it's not sappy romance though.
it gets extremely sappy.
It gets sentimental, yes, but like it's like there's a, yes, you can say that there's a strong yearning because they never really actually ever met each other until like I mentioned that one point of time where Red tries to save Blue, but Blue died. But it's, I mean, it starts off as admiration, yes, leading to romance, but I think, if anything, I wouldn't say it's heavy romance.
Well, what I mean, I'm not saying it's like other romance books. I'm just saying if you don't care for the romantic angle, then I don't know if there's enough, because the actual action, like it might be like a paragraph or two of these super soldier characters laying waste, or it'll just be like a line of like, oh, their bodies strewn along the ground bleeding out or something. I stride over them with one thing in mind, finding the next letter. And another cool thing that the book does, where they write in very visual, interesting ways that the letters are revealed because they're hidden, because it's an illicit affair basically. And so there's a lot of, it'll be a little, one of the characters will be near a volcano and there will be a swirling pile of ash, and that'll be how the letter becomes formed. There's like a key that's unlocked in a way. So yeah, you have any final thoughts?
No, final. I think other than it's like a short, easy read, I would recommend it if you want something quick and experimental. Well, that's a first. Mike gave my book 4 stars. Or 4 Kisas, actually. So please like, subscribe our video, and let us know your thoughts. Like, if you want to recommend us any kind of sci-fi books or experimental kind of writing that you think that we may like, please leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, we drop a video on the first Sunday of every month, so we hope to see you then. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching. See ya.